Welcome to America 451 with your host, Bill Monty.
Hello and welcome to America 451. I am your host, Bill Monty. Well, as I talked about in the last episode, it has happened. Joe Biden is not running for re-election. So everyone got what they wanted. Everyone except Joe Biden, of course. Now, I'm not going to say that him stepping down is the wrong thing to do. As I've said before, the problem is if they thought that he was not competent to run, well, maybe the Democrats should have brought that up about a year or a year and a half ago. And that way we could have prepared for the best candidate. Is Vice President Harris the best candidate for the Democrats? I don't know because I don't know that much about her because she's kind of been hidden all this time. I know that I was not that impressed with her back in 2020 when she ran against Joe Biden to be president. So let's talk about how this occurred, shall we? Now, a lot of people are saying that, Trump got his way, the Republicans got the way, MAGA, whatever it might be. Hey, folks, this wasn't them. This was the Democrats, okay? For some reason, no one, not the Hollywood elite, not Barack Obama, no one seemed to be able to tell Joe Biden that his running was a bad idea, at least not until after that famous debate. But until then, everything was going fine. You know why? Because everything was going fine. The economy was recovering. The stock market's doing well. We're trying to get a handle on things in the world with Ukraine and Israel and Gaza and trying to do the best we could. No one had any complaints until that 90-minute debate. And boy, then everything just went to hell, didn't it? There was a fundraiser that the Hollywood elite, including George Clooney, threw for the president. And in that, they say after the debate, suddenly they were concerned. Things they saw weeks ago concerned them, but they didn't say anything. Yeah. So what did George Clooney do? Well, he picked up the phone and he immediately called Barack Obama. What? Well, that's what he did. And apparently, President Obama didn't really say one way or the other about what he should or should not do. If you want to run that op-ed piece, yeah, go ahead. Anyone give Joe a heads up? Anyone pick up that phone? I'm pretty sure the president would pick up the phone for George Clooney since he just raised millions and millions of dollars a few weeks before for him. So if there had been a concern, maybe George Clooney could have picked up the phone, right? What did he do? He took out an op-ed piece in the New York Times to say, Mr. President, I don't think you're up to the job. Nice. Really nice. Yeah, that's how you want to do it. Your friends think you have a problem with something, and instead of just telling you directly, they take out a big advertisement in one of the biggest newspapers in the world. That's the way to do things, right? So the president was stalwart. I'm going to run. He even did interviews with ABC and NBC. And in the end, I get it, President Biden. How much crap can you take after a while? I am not 81. I'm younger. I'm certainly up there in age, but I am younger than 81. And even I would have said, enough. I can't do this anymore. You want someone else? Go for it. All right? Things are going so bad in this country, go for it. Yeah, maybe I can't articulate things the way I used to be able to when I was younger, but I'm still able to do things. And that should count for something. And like I've said before, folks, once again, even if Joe Biden faltered, that's why you have a Vice President Harris there. If she's so wonderful, there should have been no issue because she would have just stepped right in and done what the president was doing. Oh, well. And now here we are. And we'll see what happens. Since the president stepped down this past Sunday, the polls haven't really changed one bit. We're still neck and neck. Donald Trump, I think, maybe 1 or 2 polling points ahead, which we know there's a margin of 3%, so it doesn't really matter there. It means they're neck and neck. So I think the last one I saw, former President Trump had 47%, the vice president had 45%. So what's that, 92%? So 8% that were undecided when Joe Biden was still running are still undecided. And maybe they'll go with the party that looks like they might have a plan and know what they're doing. Because I don't think the Democrats look like they know what they're doing. They're winging it. It's ridiculous. And I'm going to say this again for all of you who are worried. I do not want to see a second Trump presidency. I'm simply calling it like it is. I'm simply saying, okay, you got what you wanted, folks, in the Democratic Party, but what is the plan? What are we supposed to do moving forward? Because we seem to be making this up as we're going along, which doesn't give me the greatest confidence in the world. But not everything making America seem topsy-turvy these days has to do with politics. I think there's a lot of things we have to be talking about what's happening with the medical profession in this country. Now, there's a lot of talk back when President Obama was in the office. He got Obamacare going. We got insurance for people who needed it, your pre-existing conditions couldn't exclude you, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we got all that. But has anyone noticed there's been that erosion is still happening? And I'm going to give you a personal example. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about here, listen, folks, this is my opinion, right? I'm watching the news and I'm on social media and I'm seeing exactly what you're seeing. I'm just expressing it here because I'm trying to kind of be a calming voice or a voice of common sense, which I think is a little bit lacking. I'm not saying I'm the only one that can do it, but I'm the only one that's doing it right now for you. So I've been seeing my primary care physician for about 15 years now. Like any older person, my cholesterol's too high, I'm overweight, and he's been working with me for years. And a wonderful guy and a wonderful doctor. But about 2 years ago, his practice bought into corporate America, got taken over by a corporate group. So they have offices all over the country now. So it used to be my neighborhood doctor is now owned by a corporation. And I started seeing that erosion that I just mentioned as we were going on here. It happened first with the staff at the front desk, who were always wonderful. It started getting a little bit worse, the service. Someone would call you and they didn't seem to know exactly who you were. And then you'd show up at the office and they'd be puzzled that I had mentioned that there was a call that said this and that. Had an appointment today. And I get a call yesterday confirming, we get that the appointment is supposed to happen. And the person who called me said, yes, and we're confirming that, you'll have your appointment with Betty Smith, not her real name. I said, who's Betty Smith? And they said, oh, that's the nurse practitioner you'll be seeing. I said, no, I don't see a nurse practitioner. I see my doctor, Dr. Jones, who I've been seeing for 15 years. Oh, Dr. Jones isn't seeing people like you anymore. He's seeing the more serious patients, the ones who are more critically ill. Now, folks, Dr. Jones is a primary care physician. Used to be called a general medicine. Used to be the family doctor. He doesn't have patients who are undergoing major heart surgery and he's responsible for it. That's another doctor taking care of all that. My condition's been going on for quite a while. And we finally, after all these years and different medicines and everything else, we got it a little bit under control. He doesn't know that yet, though. I do, because I get the blood results just like you do from the app, right? From Quest. But he didn't know that yet. So I said, well, no, I want to see Dr. Jones, when I go tomorrow. And she said, well, no, you're going to be seeing. I said, we'll talk about it when I get there. So I go this morning, and the first thing I notice is I no longer go to the desk to check in. I'm now going to a kiosk to check in that's asking me all the information that has been on my record for 15 years. So I'm trying to navigate through it. I'm not doing a very good job. As I'm doing it, I have not yet checked in, mind you. The young lady comes out and says, Bill Monty? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not done here yet. And she comes over and starts pressing continue, go see. And she says, now you're done. I said, okay, so I didn't have to do any of that. Then she laughs. She walks in. We go in. We get weighed. We get depressed. We go in. She says, okay, you're here for your annual wellness exam. I said, no, I'm not. I've already had my annual wellness exam. I'm here just to get the results and see what we're going to do next. The doctor and I have been working for this for a long time. I'm sure he'd be happy. I can't wait to see his face when he reads it. She goes, you won't see him. You'll never see that doctor again unless your condition gets worse. And I said, what? And she repeated it. And repeated what the young lady had said yesterday on the phone. The doctor only sees critical care patients now. And I said, well, I'd like to talk to him about that because I'm not happy with that decision. She said, well, you're not going to. So if you stay here, Betty Smith will come in and do your exam. And I said, well, she'll find an empty room because I'm leaving. And I went to the front desk and she handed off my chart to someone who came over to talk to me. And I explained how I was feeling and said, I'd like to speak to Dr. Jones, not his name either, by the way. And she said, well, he's not even in town right now. I said, oh, so he was never here. I made this appointment back in February. I made it to see him, but he was never even here. So I didn't get a chance to say, I'll reschedule, or you asked me that question. You were just going to give me to someone else. And she repeated what the other person had said. You'll no longer see Dr. Jones. And I said, well, then could I get a recommendation for another doctor? And she said no. And I said, well, then I guess I'll find one on my own. And she said, okay, bye. And after 15 years, I'm now going to find a new doctor. And that, in a nutshell, friend, even though it's just my experience, I know from talking to other people they have similar ones, is another reason why America's burning. America 451, 450 degrees Fahrenheit. That's when things start burning. Things on paper. We got to turn this country around. And it's not just about Donald Trump and Vice President Harris and Joe Biden. It's about the fabric and the culture of our lives that is disintegrating in front of us. And we're just taking it. And I do not accept that. And neither should you. Now, look, I don't have a Facebook page to promote this podcast. So somewhere on here, you can find a like button and a subscribe button. Please do that. You can make comments too. I primarily do this on YouTube, but I am going to throw it up on Spotify also. So I'd like to see your comments right here. I'm not going to give you an email address. I'm not going to give you a phone number that you're not going to write to or call anyway. You're only going to do something while you're watching this. So this is the time, my friends. Our country's in trouble, but we don't have to be all down about it, but we do have to be able to find solutions. And I believe we can do that by working together. So remember, please hit like, hit subscribe. You might want to ask your doctor what your future looks like with them too. And until next time, this is Bill Monty saying be safe and be kind.